What's up, guys? I'm Chad Barnes, and welcome to the channel. Here, it's all about real car talk, from simple fixes to smart driving tips and keeping your ride in top shape. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button and make sure you watch all the way through. There's a lot of good stuff coming. Let's get to it.
Tricycle E46 by design is a typical Bavarian car of the beginning of the century. All-steel body and sedan, hatchback, station wagon, coupe, and cabriolet variants, classic rear-wheel drive layout, but all-wheel drive is possible. Motors, atmospheric inline 4 and 6, if not to count M3 GTR, where V8 was shoved in, and also turbo diesels. Suspensions, McPherson in front and simple multilink rear. In comparison with E36, it has much more modern architecture of a body. It is much more rigid, with a strong cage of Salon, the developed engine tunnel, which became one of important bearing parts, and not bad protection from lateral shocks. There are almost no aluminum elements. Electronics is already on the multiplex bus, but without special possibilities for customization. Transmissions are 5 and 6-speed manuals, as well as 4 and 5-speed automatic transmissions, the latter from both ZF and GM. Intriguingly, the American boxes were assembled in France, and it's hard to find any system in the selection of boxes. It's almost guaranteed that the GM automatic will be on the 330D. With other modifications, as luck would have it, it remains only to check by VIN. On 325i and 330i models there is also a robot SMG. This is a rare miracle of hostile technology, a racing box with one clutch, complex, and not particularly successful. Timeline April 1998. Model release. Body-only sedan, but immediately available of very wide engine range. Inline 4's M43 TUB 19 UL 105 horsepower for 316i and M43 TUB 19 OL 118 horsepower for 318i. Inline 6's M52 TUB 2150 horsepower for 320i. M52 TUB 25 170 horsepower for 323i and M52 TUB 28 193 horsepower for 328i. Diesel. Only the 4-cylinder M47D20 in the 136 horsepower version for the 320D model. Transmissions are either manual or automatic, for the 4-cylinder gasoline version's 4-speed, while the 6-cylinder gasoline and all diesels got a 5-speed automatic. April 1999. Appearance of the car with a coupe body. October 1999. Launch of station wagon. Appearance of 6-cylinder diesel engine M57 D30 184 horsepower for 330D model. April 2000. Appearance of convertible version. June 2000. Appearance of M3 version with S52B 32 343 horsepower engine. Fall 2000. 6-cylinder gasoline engines were replaced by a new range of M54. The 320i models were equipped with M54B 22 170 horsepower. There were also 325i and 330i variants with M54B 25 engine with an output of 192 horsepower and M54B 3231 horsepower. June 2001. Appearance of hatchback compact. Restyling of the model. Renewal of engine lineup. For 316i versions there are now available 2 engine variants for different markets, N40B16 and N42B18, both with 116 horsepower, but very different design. On 318i models, the motor was changed to the N42B 2143 horsepower. October 2003. Motor update of the base 316i, N45B16 01 116 horsepower became available in some markets, and the N42B20 and N42B18 engines were replaced by the N46 series with the same displacement and power, but with improved fuel economy. December 2004. Discontinuation of the compact model. February 2005. End of production of cars with sedan body. June 2006. The last coupes were produced. Cabriolets were assembled until February 2007, but already on the basis of finished bodies. Body. Exterior panels, even inexpensive 3 cars look good, but only on the photo or if you don't get close. Careful even shine and absence of shabby areas create an illusion of a strong body. But any close inspection will easily destroy the pleasant image. Alas, almost all cars will have a lot of bugs and bloating paint, which usually already represent through holes, Normal galvanizing the car is severely lacking. Yes, the chips sometimes show a grey layer like normal galvanized metal, but it doesn't last very long. There are plenty of problem places. Hood ruts at the bottom of the beak, front fenders on the arches, mostly from the inside, and along the bumper, and also at the attachment point of the mudguard. Front doors are rusting along the edges under the sealant, especially at the bottom, at the place of installation of the rearview mirror. Sills are destroyed under the plastic of the lining and at the rear arch, and in front the process affects the front fender, and their reason is quite obvious. Wet dirt is collected under the plastic. The front edge of the roof near the glass is chipped with rusty chips. The rear wings are peeling off along the arch, along the bumper and under the tail lamp, and, of course, the trunk lid from a license. Plate recess and along the lower edge is rusting. On inexpensive cars, serious corrosion can be in all the problem points, and cars from Moscow, St. Petersburg and northern regions can have visible rust pockets, even if they are copies of the last years of production and are at the top of the market. All you need to do is look closely, and sometimes bend plastic sill covers and moldings. Relatively intact bodies can be in cars from the southern regions. There are even sometimes variants in native paint, but the majority of decent appearance is the result of tireless work of painters to eliminate problems. As soon as the market price decreases and the car starts to save money, or the next painters do their job badly, the three begins to slowly but surely turn into a ruin. If you want a car for a long time, it will be difficult to look for, and anti-corrosion measures are needed annually. In particular, the treatment of chips should be only with full coloring of the element. If you just want to ride, then look for a car with at least whole sills and with a whole power structure. There are a lot of broken E46, rear-wheel drive, lack of modern active safety systems and ambitions of owners. There are variants restored from total. 10 years ago prices for this car were kept at a good level, and it was profitable to save them from the dump. From below, the main weak point is noticeable from the outside. These are the sills. On the elevator, all the problems will be seen no better. The plastic covers them from below completely. But if the plastic is removed, it will be noticeable that they rot mainly from the outside, because the plastic cover accumulates dirt and moisture, and the sill and sill reinforcement are destroyed from the bottom edge upwards. There is usually nothing particularly bad in the front arches, except that the front fender, as mentioned, rots from the inside, at the point of contact with the locker. Until the rust is through, only the inner edge of the arch is seen to be a problem, and that's it. Pay attention to the seams of the front suspension cups and where the strut mounts. From the inside there is usually not much rust if the seam sealant is intact, but the cup on top is literally blown out. It is bent due to loads. Many put body cup stiffeners, but they are made of black metal and are likely to contribute to corrosion in this area. In the rear arches, the situation is much worse. The place of support of the shock absorber here is stronger. It is damaged much less often, but all internal surfaces rust badly. It is especially unpleasant that the area under the fuel filler pipes and the inner arch at the seams corrodes badly. Corrosion can be through and through even in late cars. The rear part of the arch suffers first of all, where sandblasting affects. The only thing that helps is regular and high-quality anticorker with surface cleaning and priming, but it is worth applying a cheap bitumen compound over the rust just once, and after a few years you will have to replace the fender and the arch with reinforcements. Everything rots quickly. The underbody itself is usually in quite decent condition. The main problematic place is around the gas tank. Here on the body wall at the brake system pipes corrosion becomes loose and deep. Still suffer points of installation of the rear subframe. It is worth paying attention to the area of the junction of floors and spars in the front. Here too there are often centers of deep corrosion. It often happens that the underbody rots in the legs of rear passengers, in the points of installation of drain plugs. In the engine compartment, carefully check all the seams of the cups and the engine shield. The sealant is very weak, under increased loads it comes off, and there is seam corrosion. The front panel corrodes the area around the radiator, and if you do not look carefully, it may fall off completely. The metal is thin. In the overmotor niche, it is worth inspecting the condition of drains and seams. You may accidentally find rust at the base of the roof pillar. It happens. In the trunk, be sure to check the side recesses. In the right one there is a battery, on all body variants, except hatchback, and there is a lot of corrosion due to the presence of acid vapors. In the left niche the situation is better, but moisture also accumulates there, and ventilation louvers let it inside. All seams around the spare tire recess inspect carefully. If there are problems with the rear panel, it will be noticeable. In the cabin, if possible, check the condition of the floor carpet in the legs of the rear passengers and at the driver's side. In case of high humidity, it is better to lift the carpet and inspect. From inside, the bottom rots quickly and reliably, up to there. Formation of holes at the junction with the sill, and there just passes the wiring harness. You can also look closely at the gas pedal bracket. If there is loose rust, there is a good chance that the whole floor under the driver is rusty. Inspect the doors for leaks. Water often drips from them when the inner membrane and drain are compromised. Body equipment, unfortunately, the quality of manufacturing of various elements and mechanisms of the body is not very pleasing either. The front optics is weak, the glass cracks, lets in moisture, and rubs off. Xenon lenses burn out, and strongly and quickly. There are spare parts, and everything can be repaired. Bumpers and plastic have rather weak fasteners. Regularly there are cars with sagging elements. Headlight washer covers are a consumable item here. Fastening is extremely unsuccessful. At high speed it is better not to allow the washer to be switched on, even if the covers are glued. A big trouble happens because of a small detail. Windshield drain, aka jabot in common parlance. When the rubber seal on the upper edge is destroyed, water from the glass starts to flow directly into the heater air intake. Under these conditions, the drain often fails, and water enters the passenger compartment. If the jabot leaks, then the wiper trapezoid sours quite often. The side mirrors have a corroding aluminum bracket. There are repair bushings for it, but most owners just don't bother with the folding mechanism anymore. Hood locks are a headache. They also get sour, after which the hood opens and closes badly. Both the locks and the cable need to be lubricated regularly. Power windows also require attention. Cables break off, rollers break. Good mechanisms are on sale as an assembly, and the cable with tips separately. With locks, problems are minimal, and the failure of the trunk lock is usually associated with wiring or breakage of buttons. From troubles, it is possible to add such feature as unsuccessful hinges of a hood and a lid of the trunk, at ice formation in niches. At a glass, it is possible to bend corners of panels if to pull carelessly. And the layer of ice there in winter is strong enough. Water runs off the glass and freezes. Detail original price of non-original 2-body front headlight 22069 TYC 6013 Hella 29496 windshield. 24909 vendor 10640 front fender 26015 Polcar 3498 Blick 9693 front bumper 45 732 API 3072 hood 44962 Polcar 12 670 API 18211 headlight Xenon 62 594 Depot 2 567 Hella 60067 interior. If you do not take the car in a very cheap configuration, the quality of the interior trim is very good. Good materials, very pleasant design. Except that the wear resistance of the steering wheel is low. By the way, they managed to put steering wheels from more recent models. Don't be surprised if instead of a native multi-roll there is a 3-spoke one from E90. In coupe and convertible cars, the seat sides are very badly worn, but it depends more on the driver's size and care. Wear of buttons and knobs is very moderate for such mileage. Cars that have passed less than 200,000 a few, wear resistance of most elements here is still premium. The dashboard is good, but the most widespread versions have broken knobs, which are used to reset the odometer, switch modes of the onboard computer and set the clock. Often on E46 dashboards are non-native. They take from more powerful versions, from M3, with black centers and thick arrows, repaint, rings, and not always correctly flash brains under the dashboard, and it is easy to get non-working ASC because of such upgrade. And even the light bulb may not burn. However, more often dashboards are removed to solder out LEDs of error indicators or to reset the mileage. There are many problems with various fasteners that lose strength over the years. Door trim, armrest fasteners, ashtray fasteners, and many other things are broken, but the most visible and regular problem is the breakage of glove box fasteners, glove box in common parlance. If it dangles, it is not a trace of road accident at all. It is simply removed for access to climate control and electronics, and often quite heavy things are put inside. Cold heater syndrome is a common name for a widespread E46 trouble in our area. The causes of the problem are quite a lot. The simplest one is an error in the operation of the heater valve. It is not super reliable. Sometimes it's wiring or firmware of the climate control unit also fails. Clogged heater radiator and blowing out, also popular, but more difficult to eliminate problems. Blowing out is usually connected with the breakage of the heater radiator pipes. They leak and accumulate an air plug in the upper part. If there is an imperceptible leak of antifreeze, it is necessary to check the overmotor niche and the tubes in it. Radiator is clogged due to rare replacement of antifreeze and getting oil in it. It is not rare on many BMW motors, and it is usually treated by flushing. It is easier and better than to change a part for a non-original new one with disassembly of the panel. Climate control damper failures are rare, but they shouldn't be ruled out either. The air conditioner is quite strong. It does not work usually due to the removal of the condenser after a traffic accident or a banal leak. Electrics. The electrics in BMW cars of this generation are quite developed and complicated. And there are enough troubles with it, but it is mainly connected with the work of ASR, ABS, ECU blocks, and their sensors. In particular, lambda probes on N-series and M54 motors and engine wiring on all of them. Failure of lighting elements and body elements is most often associated with flooded wiring, breakage of wires in corrugations and failure of buttons or blocks, and a common trouble with the sound amplifier, with overload and wear of speakers. The whole set of control units, from light, dashboard, and climate to EWS and DME-DDA, is firmwareable here. When replacing them, they require binding, and an illiterate electrician can do a lot of things by disabling safety systems. Also take into account that owners often do not have the opportunity to buy a block in exactly the same version that they had before. And the breakdowns of blocks happen more often. The life of capacitors and power keys fits. In general, the electrics are quite reliable. It does not cause much trouble. If there are no interventions in the system, there is no crookedly installed additional equipment and the generator is in order. Here, even the wire from the battery in the trunk is reliable, because it passes inside the body and is successfully divorced, so that the contacts do not burn anywhere. If the E46 hasn't rotted yet, there's two pieces of news, good and bad. The good news is that you can save it to drive for a few years, maybe more. The bad news is that you need to invest in anti-corrosion or get ready to drive it to slaughter. The rest against the background of the body, in general, trifles. Some investments into electrics with search of suitable blocks are inevitable, as well as search of accessories on the scrapyards. But, buying 20-year-old BMW, you did not expect to drive it as Bazzazatno, as on new Solaris? In the next installment we'll look at the E46's chassis, gearboxes, and engines. In conclusion, the BMW 3 Series E46, while celebrated for its driving dynamics and engineering, faces significant challenges as it ages. The fast-rotting bodywork and the complexities involved in selecting the right electrical blocks can deter potential buyers and enthusiasts alike. It's crucial for anyone considering this model to be aware of these issues and to conduct thorough inspections. By understanding these potential pitfalls, you can make a more informed decision and enjoy the driving experience that the E46 has to offer. Thank you for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for more insights on classic cars.